Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where in the world you are joining us for DAM and Museums. I'm delighted to be welcoming Giovanni Benigni, I hope I got that right, for the first session of the day here in Track 2. He's going to be talking about the new General Catalogue of Vatican Museums, delivering extensive public interoperability. Just a reminder, if you are actually looking for decolonizing digital preservation with Monica Montgomery of Museum Hue, please scroll to the top of the agenda and click on track 1. I remind you also that, to use the chat tab to communicate with other attendees during this live session and submit questions at any point during the session in the Q&A tab on the right-hand side of your screen. We should have some time at the end for questions, so please do submit your questions as we go along. And now, without further ado, over to Giovanni.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Christina. Thank you for your presence here today. I'm Giovanni Benigni. I work for the Vatican State since the end of the last century. And currently, I lead the Vatican Museums Digital Transformation project. I hope my session will be of interest for you. Just before starting, I want to apologize for my rusty and often really Italianized English, but I hope that anyway we can create a good connection. Well, I do not want to make a complete history of the Vatican Museums here. It was impossible, it should be impossible. That was born about in the 15th century when Pope Nicholas V called on Fra Angelico to decorate the private chapel of his apartments in the Apostolic Palace. After him, here worked names like Bernardino di Betto, better known as Pinturicchio, Michelangelo Buonarroti, Giotto, and so many others who added to them over time, all contributing to build what today is one of the most impressive concentration of artworks in the world. Just to give you an idea of the rich and complex environment we are working in, here is a listing of our departments. Each is practically a museum in itself, taking account that the container of our artworks is also an artwork in itself. You surely know that the entire territory of the Vatican City State is unique in its kind, a UNESCO site. And this raises up several issues. Often it is very difficult, for example, to make technological changes in the museums. I can say layering a land out, because our fine art supervision often raises a lot of exceptions. Also, the catalogue of architectonic operas is an ongoing, never-ending job. The dispersion of artworks is great. We have many difficulties. For example, just think that we had to use a deposit space in the Lapidary Museum to make room for a new server room. So we had to move heavy lapids, heavy stones from here to there, and it's very difficult. Well, to give you some numbers, we have 16 museums, as said, 5 archaeological areas. You have to add also the Vatican Gardens and the Pontifical Palace and Villa of Castel Gandolfo. Our exposition path extends to 7,000 meters of galleries, developing over 130,000 square meters of artistic surfaces. Our GIS project, for example, collected information for over 150,000 square meters of surfaces, taking 35,000 pictures and capturing 9,000 3D clouds. We have over 120,000 inventoried items that are not so many in comparison to other museums, but still a good number, with more than 400,000 pictures and documents ingested in the new catalog. The current patrimony of the photo library has about 250,000 pictures. We are starting to ingest other 100,000 images. This includes around 50,000 glass plates, ancient glass plates, that constitute all the historical founds of pictures we have, like the famous Moscioni fund. This is an example of our glass plates. This is a view, a panorama of Rome. This is a panorama of Piazza del Duomo in Milan. You can see horses here and some car. And here are some figure from the Vatican. This is on the left, Sediaro, and an ancient Swiss guard with the ancient vest. Okay, let's talk about the genesis of our catalog. Over the centuries, the Vatican Museums collected a huge quantity of information: artwork catalogs, movement forms, restoration details, analysis results, and many other documents. Many data moved to software databases in different time with different technologies. But still today, information is sometimes accessible only by flicking through physical archives or otherwise browsing several different applications. And this constitutes a bottleneck to obtain timely information. So it won't need much time to tell the entire tale of our inventory. Suffice to remember that we start from over 50 different inventories, which in late 19th have been incrementally brought into a first database system that we call Phoenix, which has been in use up to a couple of years ago, in 2019. You know that the oldest catalog dates back to 18th century. And the ideas of catalogs, of all these catalogs, no more in use today, are often cited in publication that are still circulating. So it has been necessary to create a concordance system between old and new accession ideas. And to make things a bit more complicated up to date, we never assigned formal ideas to fixed architectural artworks, such frescoes, mosaics, walls, ceilings, vaults, and so on. Up to now, we used to classify them by room, wall name, figure. For example, Sistine Chapel, Last Judgment, Charon. Thus, then, when we start our 3D scan of all museums' rooms some years ago, at the same time, we start a cataloging project to assign ideas to fixed artworks and to each premises space. And this is a really huge work, still in progress today. Well, as you can see here on the slide, over the years, so many other information is accumulated and other needs have arisen. Restoration laboratories needed to gain access to their always growing paperwork in a timely fashion. Analysis laboratory start to create larger files, needing both a storage and a retrieval system. Photographers start to take digital picture that, as you may well know, does not have a decreasing trend. And more important, generally all this information was just recorded on paper or in network storages under simple directory structures, maybe with some information in the EXIF headers of the files, but without any concept of long-term preservation, for example. So where we were, we had a relational system mixed with a file storage, which was the inventory database, Phoenix, with its pictures, attachments, and concordance system. We had epigraphic data and the library, our internal library, working on single user application, generally placed on a single PC, accessible going to the room where the PC was. Several documents, for example, conservation reports, were on paper, some on disk storage, as said, in form of PDFs. The historical archive was separated between paper and a single user application. We had data on disk storages. We had the pictures, scanned images and digital images. We have the 3D clouds, floor planes, and all the derivatives for floor planes, architectural elevations, 360 panorama, virtual tours also. And moreover, we had many data on tapes, analysis data mainly, and videos. You know that we have videos in different media and different formats. Many of these are difficult to read today because Betacam tape reader are not so common today as it was before. So we were in such a situation, very complex situation. Here is, for example, one of our 3D scanning of the Sistine Chapel. We made a good job on this, creating 3D clouds geographically connected each to other. This is the Sistine Chapel. You can see the judgment here. You can see the frescoes. This is the Sala Regia. This is the Scala Regia. Okay, just to show you something nice. Well, the new catalog. You must know that since my coming to Vatican and to museums more than 20 years ago, my obsession has been to put all the information we had in a single system, to get a single access point for everything. My intent has longly been frustrated by some political refusals and several other more urgent issues, such, for example, the development of a reservation and ticketing system for the Vatican Museums. But in 2017, conditions changed, and it was finally possible to start thinking about it. The project of the new catalog was born on a precise need. Our new director, Dr. Barbara Iatta, started a long-awaited scanning project of our collection of historical pictures on glass plates, the ones you have seen some slides ago. And a renewal of the existing archives of images. All this had to find place in a single common digital container. It appeared immediately that we needed both a new cataloging system associated with a long-term storage able to accommodate forever the digital copies of such pictures. You have to note that at the end of the first decade of 2000, I directed for the Governorate of the Vatican City State several software development projects related in some ways to file preservation, although not explicitly. But yes, I was perfectly aware about what we had to look for in a cataloging system. And the desiderata were really this. Unfortunately, it seemed that the solution offered by the big companies seemed not likely to be valid ones. So we started a technology search looking for a flexible metadata-rich relational solution that will store large files on disks and not in database blob fields, like many vendors offer. And we identified, among a large number, two possible products, a commercial one and an open source. The first was more aimed at companies that had to manage images for commercial purposes, while the open source system seemed built for research institutions. Libraries, for sure, and also museums, because it was validated by the Musée de France, and it gave us really a good perspective to be able to use it satisfactorily. Sorry. So we chose it. I cannot say its name, not to advertise, but I will be glad to suggest if you want to know something privately. So the system we chose showed to have a flexible metadata structure, a powerful storage and display management of large files, an easy management of interstitial data along a relationship between objects, and to be self-documenting. Most important, being it an open source platform, it was inexpensive. And we had in-house a small but valid software development team able to make modifications. So we start a test, just thinking to use it as a DAMS for the glass plates project just mentioned. And we had a nice surprise. It appeared every day more and more suitable to contain every information we already had. And a new possibility finally arose. Get to a unique access point for every artwork-related information in our possession. It was my dream coming true. Together with the software, we had to look for a long-term preservation system. And we coached on a leader solution, which offered us an hybrid tape disk system with a capacity of 316 terabytes, which is the only big cost we are bearing, actually. Obviously, you cannot consider a tape system to be an LTPS, and neither do we. Our LTPS is just the first step in our LTP implementation. We plan to follow the 3-to-1 data protection best practice that involves, as you know, making 3 copies of data on 2 types of media, with one of those copies stored off-site. But due to pandemic and other issues, we had to postpone this to better times. We are a small state, and it is very difficult to find a place, a disaster recovery place, far away, far away from the other side. So we are moving. We are still moving with this. In this moment, we have just the main long-term preservation system and the tapes, and unfortunately, up to now, we don't have the optical disc we plan to have as second media, and we are storing such files on disk arrays in this moment. But you know that long-term preservation doesn't mean just hardware. It's above all a set of policies. And being our assets base still in definition and in gestion phase, and being still working with all the people concerned to exactly know what assets they have and how should be preserved, you can well understand that we have not completed this job. We are working on it. So coming back to the beating track, today we are getting every day more completely to have a unique access point for every artwork related information. We have in the center of our system called MVCA, which is Musei Vaticani Collective Access, is the inventory, and all these kind of objects are already in the system. We have gigapixel, we have images, historical archives data, epigraphy data, many attachments related to the artworks, and also the audio guides. We are planning, this is to be done, we are planning to add conservation reports, analysis, frames reports, library 3D clouds, OBJ, press releases, and video. To get here, we have first to make a complete analysis to bring all the data sources, electronic or paper-based, to a common metadata structure, at least for the basic ones. As ground structure, we chose a standard Dublin core set, even if we did not use all its elements. And it has been necessary to create some new specific element, obviously, to manage some peculiarities of our information. But our commitment was to bring all existing data structures down to a unique metadata structure. And this was mandatory for me and for all of us. The really hard point was for the curators and managers to accept that their own data was no more their own property, but something with a larger scope in terms of access and authority. Just today, in these days, I had to argument with a curator about their places. trying to explain that a system called collective access is meant to collaborate, not to have private information. So we had to fight, but we won, and we are winning. So here you see the basic double core metadata, and the metadata signed with an asterisk are also available under IIIF, because our system has an interoperable API, IIIF compliant, on the IIIF presentation API, and we have made it available for all our public records. You know that our adventure with IIIF started in 2018, when Vatican Museums had been invited to participate in a workshop at Stanford. After that, we start a collaboration, and now you will see that this interface is available. Where we are today? It has been a long time consuming and stressing activity, but we now have all our main information in a new single metadata structure, have a single access search access point. We're starting to have a well-defined LTP policy. We are able to manage every kind of media. We're able to store very large files, up now over 15 gigabytes. We have an out-of-the-box public website, and we have an IIIF interoperable API. This is the first time someone in the world see this address, but last week, the 1st of February, we published the Catalogue.museivaticani.va, which is the tip of the iceberg of all our work, of the work we have done up to now. What you see is just a first version. We are enriching with additional features like audio description for people with disabilities, 3D views of objects, maps, more types of objects, and new facets like places and maps and so on. So if you want, you can find this catalog online. The address is the one you see, catalogo.museivaticani.va. And okay, just let's go to an end. I hope I haven't bored with all this chat. Returning to the question that may have brought you here, have we really done what was needed in this pandemic? Well, Vatican Museums is a somewhat large organization, and this is just one of the projects put in place. I can say that this very one, also providential to allow our curators to continue working during last year's lockdown, gain a broader scope than simply fight the pandemic deadlock, as you have seen. Really, we are probably better fighting pandemic with other projects like the Patrons of the Arts Insider course, which is a series of webinars consisting of training sessions, master lectures, meeting and live chats with our directors and curators, or better the well-established online virtual tours. But I think that the most important feature we set online, which is the interoperability API, probably is a good answer, at least for Vatican Museums up to now, and a powerful tool for both researchers, students that are locked in their countries or homes. So I think that yes, we definitely did it right. So thank you. If you have some questions.
Fabulous. Thank you, Giovanni. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. I know you haven't been watching the chat, but I just want to give you a little rundown. Everybody has said they love your accent and your English is very good.
Thank you.
Lots of people are saying that they wish they could go and visit. They really miss traveling to Italy to come and see you. And Thomas has said he's going to make himself a cappuccino and pretend he's there with you.
Just
right.
I want to say that in this moment, Vatican museums are empty as they ever been. So if you can come to Italy, come to Vatican museums, because it's a really strange experience.
It must be wonderful to be able to walk through the Sistine Chapel and the other museums,
sure,
and see it by yourself. Oh, the dream. Okay, so we have a couple questions. Do you manage your metadata primarily in Italian or any other languages?
In this moment, primarily in Italian. We are planning to make some translation into English, but I'm not sure when it will be possible.
Great. Okay. Are there
the interface is both in Italian and in English of the website, the public website and the internal interface, but the description, the metadata, and so on are all just in Italian. Yeah.
Right. Great. Okay. Somebody has asked, do you have controlled lists or taxonomy lists for the fields, the metadata fields, or is everything free text?
For some fields, we have a taxonomy, but generally, for example, we didn't plan to have tags up to now. We are able to make free text searches with a good interface and a good capabilities to add and remove words in the search using plus, minus before a word, for example. And also the system has a faceting capability, which is very useful to restrict and drill down the search you made. This was a problem our curator said, because they used to find, and they didn't find anything several times. They used to find objects directly giving all the information in an enormous search interface. And now they are working in another way, drill down. They start large and then go drilling down the information, narrowing it enough to get the information they want.
And is that working better?
Yeah, sure.
Great. Okay.
Now people is very happy.
Good. Good. You've achieved your goal then. That's
sure.
Sure. So Judith says, Buonasera. Does each museum have its own ID system? And did you have to normalize unique IDs for objects and artworks?
Well, we start this job at the end of 19th. And we had 15 different inventories, as I said, and we needed to create a totally new inventory ID system. So we simplified it a lot, and we just have MV dot a number followed by a couple of numbers for complex objects.
Great. So you've made it all consistent across the board.
Yeah. Yes.
Wonderful. That must have been quite a job.
Yeah.
Ariel is asking, and Roger is also asking about the IIIF. Which version are you using? And do you use a specific application for IIIF?
No, it's embedded in the open source solution we had installed. And the version is API 1.0 at now. But Mirador Free is able to open our images without any problem.
Great. Okay.
So it's really good. We are making also some experiment by overlapping images, 3 different images, for example, visible, infrared, and X-ray, and making something similar what Victoria Albert has done with the cartoons of Raffaello.
Yes. Oh, incredible. I look forward to seeing that. Thank you, Giovanni. This has been an amazing session. I'm conscious of time, so we do have to wrap up. There are a couple more questions, and if any of you want to chat with Giovanni directly in the chat, I believe you can do that and send him a private message. So thank you so much for this interesting session. And now you can all return back to track 1 to join Adrian Cooper of Terentia for the first tech lab of the day, which is leveraging your legacy, making the transition from systems to services. If you have any questions for the Terentia team, or you're interested in their latest products and services, or you want to find out how you could win an Xbox, click the exhibition tab to visit their virtual booth. Later in track 2, we look forward to hearing from Teresa Regley, the Humboldt Forum, and Army Museum's Ogilvy Trust. Thank you so much, Giovanni, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you e arrivederci a Roma.